New Mexico, the land of enchantment, with extremely diverse terrain, is becoming a new hotspot for wild boar chases. The wild boars are showing up more recklessly than ever, not only destroying crops and livestock pens, but also pushing deeper into residential areas, threatening both people and animals. That's what draws many hunters here, including us. For us, hunting is not just a passion, but also a way to protect both nature and human safety. Are you excited to see how this battle plays out? Let's begin. Early in the morning, our whole team gathered, fully equipped with firearms, and rode out in our familiar truck to the vast forests of New Mexico. Upon arrival, we set out on foot with our trained hunting dogs, heading deep into the dense woods. The dogs quickly began tracking, searching for any sign of wild boars hiding nearby. Meanwhile, we moved into our pre-assigned ambush positions. The barking of the dogs finally echoed from deep inside the forest. At that moment, Lions was scanning the area, eyes sharp, trying to spot which direction the prey was moving. A wild boar burst out, but it had no idea someone was lying in wait. And then, as the gunshot rang out, it dropped instantly. At the same time, deeper in the forest, Kay had spotted a herd of wild boars slowly foraging beneath the trees. He carefully moved into position, looking for the best angle to take the shot. With sharp focus, he locked his sights on the biggest and fattest one in the group. The gunshot rang out hitting the square. The rest of the herd scattered in a flash. A clean, satisfying takedown, the boar lay motionless. Taking down wild boars isn't easy. It requires strong teamwork and quick reflexes, especially when some manage to break away. Over the radio, Lions reported that one had escaped and was fleeing deeper into the forest. I immediately moved to a designated interception point that had been carefully calculated in advance. There was just as predicted. Everything was in place, and the target had no chance of getting away. Kay steadied the loaded rifle and took the boar down cleanly with a single shot. Before we could even celebrate, more dark figures darted through the forest. Incredibly, in less than a minute, Kay had already taken down 3 more. In this forest, Kay had truly become a nightmare for these wild beasts. Deep in the dense forest, we could only rely on the hunting dogs to track the wild boar's trail. I quickly found a good vantage point and got into position to wait. I strained my eyes toward the noise and spotted a dark figure flickering in the distance. I chambered around, aimed along the boar's path, and pulled the trigger. With just one shot, the boar dropped instantly, no chance to escape. As the day came to an end, the whole team started packing up and heading back to the rendezvous point. While making our way out of the forest, a wild boar suddenly burst out from the bushes. It seemed to be fleeing from the pack of hunting dogs behind it, but unfortunately for the boar, I was the one standing in its path. Wild boars, tenacious monsters with razor-sharp tusks and terrifying power, capable of wrecking entire crops in the blink of an eye. They're not just aggressive, they're cunning, slipping through narrow trails and ready to charge when cornered, striking fear into the hearts of farmers. We can't let them continue their rampage. We, the hunters, must act immediately. So how we take down these beasts? Let's find out in this dramatic and intense hunt. Early in the morning, we hit the road, heading toward the base of the mountain in our trusty vehicle. This time, we were joined by well-trained hunting dogs specialized in sniffing out and tracking down wild boars hiding in the terrain. As soon as we arrived, we quickly moved toward the pre-planned hunting spot. Five minutes later, the sudden barking of the hunting dogs echoed through the area. We immediately moved toward the source of the sound. As we arrived, a massive wild boar burst out from the bushes below, desperately fleeing from the dogs on its trail. The moment it broke through the underbrush, I pulled the trigger without hesitation. The boar dropped on the spot, no chance to escape. "15 minutes passed in complete silence. Then suddenly, the hunting dog's barks erupted from deep within the forest. They must have picked up the scent of a wild boar. The sound grew louder and closer. I quickly focused, trying to pinpoint the target's position. There, it was charging out from the thick brush. I aligned my barrel with its movement, then squeezed the trigger. With a thunderous gunshot, the boar collapsed to the ground, unable to take another step. After that clean shot, we quickly moved up the mountain slope. Once again, the hounds barked loudly from the bushes below. We advanced to check the area. Suddenly, the wild boar charged upward, and I didn't hesitate to pull the trigger. The shot was decisive. The boar dropped, motionless, no chance to escape any further. At the foot of the mountain, we also had a team stationed to intercept. They were closing in on a wild boar, trying to hide. Under intense pressure, the boar was forced to abandon its cover. As it burst out, Lucas raised his rifle and locked onto his path. The target was taken down. It didn't take us long to spot the next target, a wild boar being chased out of its hiding place by the hunting dogs. I quickly tracked its path, took aim, and pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed through the open air, and the boar collapsed, motionless in place. A teammate signaled that one had escaped, so we quickly used our phones to pinpoint its direction. The sound of the hunting dogs echoed from the nearby forest. They were on the run. I raised my rifle, took aim, and pulled the trigger. On our way down the mountain, my hunting dog suddenly started barking loudly. It must have sensed a wild boar nearby. After a brief chase by the dogs, the boar bolted, unaware that someone had been waiting in ambush. And with just a single shot, it was stopped in its tracks. Once again, we swiftly dealt with a threat to the local farmers. Wild boars weighing hundreds of pounds with tusks as sharp as knives devastate crops, destroy farmland, and cause thousands of dollars in damages to farmers. They won't hesitate to attack humans, causing fatal injuries and spreading diseases like leptospirosis. Just one moment of carelessness could cost you your life. Can we, the hunters, take down this ferocious beast? Join us on this unexpected and thrilling hunt to find out. On this hunt, we brought along well-trained hunting dogs. They weave through the dense forest near the grassland, sniffing and tracking every trace of wild boars. Once the prey is found, the dogs will drive them out into the open field, an exposed area with no place to hide. That's when we, the hunters waiting in ambush, pull the trigger and cleanly take down each panicked, hefty wild boar trying to flee. We move to a nearby field, the place where the wild boars have been blatantly ravaging the land. The barking of the hunting dogs startled them, and they immediately dashed across the road, heading for the forest to hide. But we were already lying in wait. I hid behind a bush, gripping my gun tightly. Suddenly, a wild boar burst out from the grass right in front of me. I raised my gun and pulled the trigger. The lead boar dropped on the spot. The second one charged forward. I missed the first shot, but the second hit its body, bringing it down. As I was reloading, my teammate beside me fired just in time, taking down the last one. We moved to a vast field where wild boars often came to ravage the land and destroy the crops of local farmers. The whole group quickly took position, lying in wait along the edge of the field, ready for the right moment to strike. Suddenly, I heard rustling sounds coming from the forest next to the field. The noise grew louder, drawing closer to me. I immediately raised my gun, staying in a ready position. But this time, it wasn't just one, an entire herd burst out all at once. I aimed quickly and pulled the trigger repeatedly. 3 shots rang out. 2 dropped on the spot, while the rest fled in panic back into the forest. In another spot, my teammate Mike was facing a furious herd of wild boars charging straight at him. Mike calmly raised his gun, aimed carefully, and pulled the trigger. The bullet hit the lead boar in the leg, making it scream in pain. Right after, he fired a second shot at a large, hefty one behind it, but the bullet only grazed its belly and didn't cause any real damage. The rest of the herd panicked and fled into the forest. We continue to track down the remaining wild boars hiding somewhere among the trees along the edge of the field. The loud barking of the hunting dogs deep in the bushes signaled that a trail had been found. Suddenly, a wild boar burst out of the bushes in a panic. I immediately raised my gun and pulled the trigger. Bang! It collapsed right there on the grass. In another corner, Mike was watching intently, trying to guess which direction the wild boar would come from. Bang! The bullet struck the animal directly, bringing it down on the spot, not even giving it a chance to take another step to escape. We had to quickly finish off the remaining wild boars before it got completely dark. I followed the sound of the hunting dogs barking loudly. As I got closer, I heard rustling in the bushes. Without hesitation, I pulled the trigger. Bang! It collapsed instantly. Not even a few seconds later, another one shot out at full speed. I quickly reloaded, took aim, and fired. The second shot rang out, one more went down, with no chance to escape. Under the golden sunlight, what was once a lush green meadow is now nothing but churned up mud grass flattened, as if a brutal battle had just taken place. The wild boar's ferocious beasts have torn everything apart, leaving behind chaos and unease for the people living here. With their untamed nature, they'll devour anything they find: roots, insects, even animal carcasses. They dig relentlessly, tearing up entire fields in a single night. It's time to take action. But can we, the fearless hunters, muster the strength to bring these monsters down? The team set out early, riding in our trusted truck with the hunting dogs in tow, heading straight for the vast fields of Arkansas. As soon as we arrived, the dogs got to work, sniffing out the trail of the wild boars. Meanwhile, we quickly moved into our hidden positions, ready for the hunt to begin. "30 minutes passed in complete silence, no sign of any wild boars. Suddenly, the barking of the hunting dogs echoed from deep within the woods. I strained my eyes, trying to trace their movement. Then came the unmistakable rustling sound. I turned quickly. Without hesitation, I locked onto the nearest targets. One by one, they were taken down. The ones farther out got lucky and slipped away into the shadows. The grassy field was the perfect spot to track down wild boars. That's why I called on Archie, our team's sharpest shooter, to cover me in case I missed. And just like clockwork, he delivered. As the boar burst out from the thick brush, Archie dropped it with a single, clean shot. Quick, precise. "10 minutes later, a gunshot rang out from the neighboring field, probably from one of my teammates. But the radio tracker signaled that the wild boar had escaped. I quickly moved in the direction it was heading. Just as I neared the area, a dark shadow darted across the vegetable patch ahead. No time to think, my shot rang out, ending the threat in an instant. Victory after victory fueled our spirits as we pressed on, tracking the next targets. Then suddenly a dark figure burst out from the dry grass. Seizing the moment, I fired a rapid burst. The shots landed true, bringing down a large, heavy wild boar. The team quickly moved on to other patches of tall grass, but I stayed behind, silently, heading toward the edge of the forest, choosing a hidden spot to lie in wait for any sign of movement. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke the silence. A wild boar, trying to stay hidden, began to emerge from the bushes. The moment it spotted me, it panicked, veering sharply and bolting into the open field. I gave chase, raised my rifle, and with a single well-placed shot, brought it down. It all happened in a flash, but that was all it took to stop a menace in its tracks. Dusk had fallen, and the last light of the day was slipping behind the treetops. We had to act fast. There wasn't much time left to track down the remaining wild boars before darkness swallowed the forest. While I was scanning the bushes along the edge of the clearing, a hefty wild boar suddenly burst out from the underbrush. Without hesitation, I took aim and pulled the trigger. After the thunderous gunshot echoed across the field, the wild boar lay motionless. There was no chance of escape. In a city in Serbia, locals are facing an increasingly serious threat from wild boars. Weighing up to several hundred kilograms, these beasts have become terrifying monsters, striking fear into many people. To address this issue, Serbian authorities have authorized organized hunts to control the wild boar population and protect local communities. And we were determined to take down every single wild boar that had wreaked havoc on local farms the previous week. In such rugged terrain, with countless twists and turns, we were fortunate to have a pack of hunting dogs by our side. Once everything was in place, I started making my way up the mountain. Within minutes, the howls of the dogs echoed through the forest. A wild boar was surrounded. Everything was going smoothly. I quickly moved in and fired to finish it off. Perfect. My shot hit dead on, dropping it instantly on the spot. Barely 5 minutes later, the team spotted another boar on the mountain slope. It was a golden opportunity one couldn't pass up. I swiftly raised my rifle, took aim, and pulled the trigger. A few hundred meters up the trail, the growling of our hunting dogs put me on full alert. Wow, it had been ages since I'd seen such a large group of wild boars. With my rifle ready, I squeezed the trigger repeatedly, unleashing a storm of bullets. At close range, two of the boars collapsed in a muddy patch, kicking and grunting their final sounds. The deeper we went into the forest, the denser the trees became, making it harder to observe, track, and shoot. Luckily, with help from our dogs, things got much easier. They quickly pinpointed the boars' hiding spots and barked loudly to alert us. The moment we heard that familiar sound, our whole team tightened formation, rifles ready. The chase grew chaotic until a loud gunshot rang out. Unbelievable, a single, clean shot from my friend Morgan dropped the boar instantly. And take a look at our trophy, a giant beast weighing nearly 200 kilograms. Nature always has a way of surprising us with gifts, and today, the wild boars in front of us were the next gift in line. Forced to scatter and flee from the relentless pursuit of our dogs, the herd broke formation. Seizing the moment, I didn't hesitate. I got into position and took aim. After I pulled the trigger, I proudly watched the boar tumble down the slope, my heart racing with excitement and satisfaction. It didn't take long before our sharp-nosed dogs locked onto another target. We moved in, closely monitoring the situation. This time, Elmer would take the shot. Once the boar was locked in, he pulled the trigger. With a single lethal shot, the boar collapsed and rolled down the hillside.